Light the beam, Nerd Nation. It's time for Nerdy for 30, the podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish movies for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer, a.k.a. The Critic's Choice. With me, as always, is the People's Champ, Tim Keck.
Yes, sir.
All right, I like yes, sir. That's a good one. And today, at long last, we are going to be talking about Across the Spider-Verse. I just want to say immediately that this is a top-tier movie. This is a movie that, although I think Tim and I both are going to be airing some grievances about it, I at least acknowledge that I would rather watch this than most other things. I think this is like in a rare class of entertainment that kind of stands alone. And these movies are so incredible and so remarkable that any of the complaints we have are just minor gripes. It's just about trying to take a smudge of dirt off of the Mona Lisa. Tim, you're looking at me like you completely disagree. I can't wait for you to alienate all of our listeners. Please let us have it. What did you think of this movie?
I didn't love it. I didn't think it was great. I don't think it's a great movie. What it is a fun time to watch Spider-Man. You know how like Avatar 2 is like an hour and a half movie, but then there's just an extra hour and a half of just like hanging out with avatars? Yeah. That's what this felt like, right? Like the movie's an hour 40 and there's just an extra 40 minutes of just, you know, looking at Spider-Man and hanging. I mean, I don't know. It's not. Last week we talked about the first one and I said it was almost a perfect movie. Yeah. It's one of the best superhero movies of all time. This is definitely not. This is, I think, a very clear step down. I still enjoyed it. I'll definitely watch it again. The animation is mind-blowing. It's fun to see all these Spider-Men. There's some great jokes in it. It's cool. I'd probably rather watch this than a lot of stuff, but I definitely got my hopes up that this would be a great movie, and I don't think it is.
You know, I'm right there with you in that. I definitely think the first movie is a better movie. The first one is so tight. There's so much going on. The art style completely blew our minds. It was like us having to process something that we'd never really seen before in that same way. And the multiversal nature of the story and the fact that a lot of people watching it weren't familiar with Miles in the first place meant that audiences were getting acquainted with things that they didn't have any familiarity with in some cases. And they did such an incredible job in that first movie of making it all so streamlined and easy to comprehend. And I just don't think this one is as tight. And I'm aware that it's the first half of a larger story, but I still stand by that. Maybe I'll eat my words. A year from now, maybe I'll be on this podcast eating my words, but I don't think I will, because there is something about having a movie that stands alone as one smaller piece of entertainment that is just nice. It's what we've talked about with the Super Mario Bros. Movie and a few other movies on this pod that have thankfully clocked in at like 97 minutes or less, where it's like, it just feels good to have a whole story happen in a condensed form.
Yeah, this one's is longer. I think this is like 220 or something like that. The previous one was 140. I felt it. I mean, there's definitely, I was a little bored during some parts, not gonna lie. I was also one of the people in the theater who just couldn't hear dialogue for some reason. That's a thing that's going around. People are not able to understand stuff. Like I love Pakistani Spider-Man, couldn't hear anything he was saying. Every time someone was about to step in a portal and they turned and like said that last word, couldn't hear it. Couldn't hear it.
I want to clarify, that's a dialogue mixing thing. That's not a dialect thing.
Yeah, it seemed I felt that. I think I was sitting with Spencer. I think he kind of concurred that it was just tough to hear back there. It was just it was a weird experience. I want to push back on something you said last week about Peter Parker. And I think at one point you said Peter Parker is just like a huge nerd. He's a loser. He's a dork, like throwing all these things at him. And he's always messing up and all this stuff. And I feel like you painted him as this like this miserable guy or this loser who isn't good at anything. Yeah. Whereas I feel like the Peter Parker I remember reading these comics was a guy whose life would be so much better as Peter Parker if he wasn't Spider-Man. It was like the hottest girls in school were always after him. And they're like, are you going to come by the malt shop later? And he's like, oh, but I have to catch the Green Goblin. I would love to be there, but I can't. Aunt May, I would love to be at your birthday, but I can't. Even the bullies, you know, it's like Flash Thompson is like, oh, punny Peter Parker, you suck. You're trash. You're garbage. You coming to my house party this weekend? And the only reason Peter doesn't is because he's got some Spider-Man shit going on. I think this is one of the few superheroes where being the hero is a huge personal detriment to the person, to the alter ego. And I think that is something cool that they've translated to Miles Morales in this movie a little bit. I'm not 100% sure why he's afraid to tell his parents about this, but he's missing class. He's skipping things. It just seems like, you know, he's late to his dad's party. They're just really now playing into this thing of he's comfortable as Spider-Man, but the work-life balance of it isn't going great. And I thought that was a good reflection of the Spider-Man that I knew and loved and appreciated. What do you think?
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, as to why he's afraid to tell them, he's 15 in this movie. So his dad's a cop. Ugh. There's absolutely no way that they would support him going out and being a vigilante.
They don't say that once in this. They don't say, it's like all you have to do is tell us what's wrong. In the first movie, this is a man who doesn't believe he has the stuff. This is like an internal battle, right? Where he's like being rejected by this friend group that want him to succeed and he just can't. He doesn't believe in himself. And now the conflict in this movie is that he believes in himself, but not enough to tell his parents. Why won't he tell his parents? Is he worried about them getting attacked? Is he worried about, yeah, I mean, that's the big one, right? Is you're worried your loved ones are going to be attacked? Are they worried they're going to hate him because he's Spider-Man, but his dad's like best friends with Spider-Man now? So that seems crazy. He never says the thing out loud of why he is worried about his parents, who we've only been shown love the shit out of this kid. This is a loving home. This is a full family unit that has each other's backs. There would be this is a very good household. There's no reason for him to be nervous about this. And yet somehow that's the central conflict of the movie, which I don't buy it the same way I bought his hero's journey in the first one. And I just don't know what they were trying to do in this. Like, what's the goal of this movie?
That's
like, what's the character want?
I don't know that I would say, well, for Miles, it's to prove that he is, again, a valid spider person. So I don't know that I would say that him trying to figure out whether or not to tell his parents is the central conflict of the movie, because I think a lot more time is spent on this idea that because Miles hasn't had the canon events happen for him, these series of events that happen for every Spider-Man, he is not a valid Spider-Man and therefore is not allowed into the Spider-Man club.
The canon events are so dumb. It's like, you can't be Spider-Man unless a cop dies. It's like, Spider-Man is the bad guy in this. There's literally like infinite universes and a near infinite number of Spider-Man at this thing who are all, like, everyone there is in agreement. Your dad has to die. Like, that's what something Peter Parker, that's not something Peter Parker would ever do. That's not what Spider-Man does, right? Spider-Man saves everybody. There's always a way. It's all that stuff. And literally his friends, the friends that he missed, that he is longing for and like had a real bond with, they're all like, yeah, dude, your dad's gonna die. Why? Because the bad guy, Miguel, he fucked with the timelines. I don't even really understand it. Miguel went to a timeline that wasn't his. He messed up his timeline. And now he's saying, guys, it's because of these continuity events. So nobody even knows that this is true. But his friends are willing to watch his dad die for a belief. They're also like, Miles is the only abnormality. He's the only glitch in this thing. The reason the spider came through is because Kingpin built the reactor, right? He turns it on, the spider comes through. That leads to Peter Parker dying. Miles Morales is the spider. In an infinite worlds of infinite possibilities, you're telling me there's no other realities where the Kingpin built that machine and turned it on? That's crazy. It's crazy. But then they Rick and Morty'd it, you know? It's like a Citadel of Spider-Man. It's just absurdity on top of absurdity. None of it makes sense to me. And it lacks the personal touch. I really love a smaller conflict in the first one. It felt personal. Yeah. It felt like his interactions with Jake Johnson. That was it was all like relationship stuff. It was internal. It felt very real. And this felt like you have to watch your dad die because this guy said that thing in outer space and there's like a bunch of alternate versions of you. Meanwhile, this is like the most visually stunning thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, this is mind-blowingly beautiful. The animation is crazy. It looks so good. It's fun, so fun to watch these guys swing around, and it's visually stunning. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? Why is this happening? I wish the story connected with me the way the animation does, which was crazy and fantastic and fun.
I'm with you on that too. I do think the smaller nature of the story in the first one helps. It seems to have lost a little bit of its heart by expanding to this more epic scale, you know?
Yeah, what's the Citadel of Spider-Man trying to accomplish? Like, what are they doing? How do they know these are pivotal events? You know, like what else is there? It just seemed very, very weird. And the fact that all of his the movie ends on his friends deciding to be his friend.
Right.
That's the end of the movie. The end of the movie is his friends being like, wow, we probably shouldn't be wishing his dad dies. And like, we probably shouldn't be hurting this person that we love and care about. Let's now. And like, what changed? Nothing changed. Miles got away. That's it. Miles escaped. And now his friends are like, huh, if Miles could get out of the Citadel of Spider-Man, then maybe we should be his friend again. And like, that's the end. Like, what? Who cares? What is this character thing? It's un-Spider-Manly. And I don't understand why they're flip-flopping. It felt just forced and lazy. And again, you're right. We're speaking to the high standard of the first one, which is one of the greatest movies of all time, I think. And this is just, it's got regular movie problems that they're just, I think some laziness. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know.
I wonder the extent to which they intended to make more, because there are a few things that happened in the first movie, like the spider that bit Miles is glitching. So that would seem to indicate that they knew, even though they didn't reveal it in the first movie, that spider came from a different universe, which honestly was one of the only quote unquote plot holes in the first movie for me. It's just that we have no fucking idea where the spider came from outside of the fact that it was beneath the Alchemax facility.
Yeah.
The other one is that apparently the Prowler theme, I saw this on TikTok. Apparently the Prowler theme is the Miles Morales theme from the first movie backwards, which is wild. Could be
that's interesting.
Just, you know, a commentary on the fact that the Prowler is a villain in the movie and has that direct familial relationship to Miles, but could also, a lot of people are interpreting as foreshadowing for the fact that Miles sees himself as the Prowler later. Another one that I saw, and this one I noticed in the first movie, is that when Miles' spider powers first kind of reveal themselves in the first movie, and for a lot of this movie, his outfits, they are purple and green. And in Marvel Comics, red, blue, and yellow were always the colors used for heroes. And purple and green, mostly, orange too, but mostly just purple and green were the colors used for villains and anti-heroes. So the fact that it was purple and green, immediately, if you are familiar with Marvel Comics, it's coded to you. So it's like, oh, what's this about? Why is he showing up as a villain? And the Prowler reveal at the very end of Across the Spider-Verse, Miles as the Prowler is cast in red and blue light. So I've seen some people theorizing that that's saying that this universe, Miles was supposed to become Spider-Man, but because the spider disappeared and went to our Miles' universe, this Miles from Universe 42 ended up becoming the Prowler instead. You know, who knows? Who knows how much this is intentional? Who knows how much of this was planned from the beginning? I kind of wonder if they got the opportunity to make these and just jumped at the chance to hang out with these characters more. And I'm not mad, even if it does have normal movie problems. I'm not mad at the opportunity to hang out in this world longer because of how much I love that world. I mean, I desperately want to see more of these characters. It's so fun.
Yeah, I don't know if I feel the same. I mean, I miss Jake Johnson a lot in this movie. I felt very noticeable where he was just so light and goofy and funny in the first one. And I felt like it was missing it. Yeah.
My man.
Kevin's showing me his Jake Johnson action figure. And I don't know. Then it became kind of like a will they won't they with like Haley Steinfeld's character, and it was fine. It was okay. It was cool. I think all the animation stuff they put a ton of energy and effort into, and it's all very intentional. There were some things that I thought were weird though, which like I feel like you're an animation guy. I looked at, there was the UK Spider-Man, Spider-Punk,
mm-hmm.
and he looked amazing in a vacuum, but then next to the other characters in the backdrop, I found it incredibly hard to look at. Am I crazy? In the first movie, there's all these different versions of Spider-Man. There's like a Looney Tunes character. There's the noir Spider-Man, and all of them, their animation though is crisp. There's crisp lines to it. They fit in that world despite being, in one case a Looney Tune and the other one like an anime character. They somehow fit for me. Whereas the UK thing was like moving and going all over the place. And I found it hard to have them being in the same space. Am I crazy?
No, I'm right there with you. It's really hard for me to reconcile because Spider-Punk as a character was one of my absolute favorite things about this movie. And Daniel Kaluuya's voice acting for him is one of my favorite things about this movie. And again, in a vacuum, all of the animation around him completely destroyed my brain. It was so unbelievably cool, but I do definitely agree that it's a lot visually and it commands a lot of your attention, and it does kind of make it hard to focus on the rest of what's going on. Although part of that could also be the fact that we saw this in like the third row of a movie theater and I couldn't see the entire screen at one time. I had to choose where on the screen I was looking. So I look forward to seeing this again, maybe this weekend, from a viewpoint where I can actually see the whole screen.
Yeah, I think that I would say that helps, but I could see the whole screen and I'm not sure it did for everything. Who was your favorite Spider-Man cameo? My favorite joke in it was Peter Parked Car, which is great.
Sure.
Where it's so funny. Great joke. I love the Ben Reilly costume where it's just the blue hoodie with the Spider-Man and he's so brooding and he's flexing and he's doing all these things with his muscle. I thought that was a great take on the character and so fun, and you would love just more of that stuff, but I thought it was great. I thought that was my favorite one. Do you have a favorite Spider-Man that we met?
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, Spider-Punk, I don't know if you count that as a cameo because he is such a big part of the movie, but by far he stole it for me this time. I loved Jake Johnson. Obviously, I said last week on the pod that Jake Johnson's Spider-Man is not just my favorite Spider-Man, but my favorite superhero I've ever seen in anything. That has not changed.
Yeah.
As far as new people in this one, I never saw the show, but I think it was really funny to see the Spectacular Spider-Man just because of how distinctly stylized he is. Like,
yes.
He's so angular. So to see him hanging out and seemingly not disturbed at all by the fact that everyone else is so much smoother than him, that was funny. Favorite cameo appearance, though, has got to go to Lego Spider-Man, which, have you seen what happened with this? Do you know the story behind the 14-year-old kid? Some 14-year-old kid animated the Spider-Verse trailer in Legos, like in stop motion with Legos, and put it on YouTube, and it went viral. Must not have been too viral though, because I never saw it. And then
this kid sounds like a loser to me.
Yeah, we're officially moving into our cyberbullying phase of this pod.
Yeah, now we're trolls. We're trolling everybody.
14-year-old kid, if you're listening to this,
I'd love to have you on the pod.
Yeah, come on.
So I can rip you a new one. Pathetic.
Enter the Thunderdome, my friend. But Lord and Miller found out about it and had him direct that segment with Lego Spider-Man.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
incredible.
it looked so good. It was so fun. And the beeping and like his wrist thing was great. It's the I was bummed we didn't get more Lego Spider-Man. It was perfect.
It was great. And also maybe the best Oscar Isaac delivery in the movie was Miguel over the wristband being like, thank you, Lego Spider-Man. You're one of the best ones. Dead serious. Killed me. Can we talk about
that's amazing?
Right back at you. What were some of your favorite jokes in the movie? Because this is the hardest I've laughed in a movie this year for sure. Maybe for the past couple years. Yeah, I was dying.
Yeah, I don't know. Not a funny year so far. I don't know. I can't even think of a good. Yeah, what's the funniest thing we've done so far? Oh, Jury Duty, probably. There was some. I laughed harder in Jury Duty than I did in this, and I didn't love Jury Duty. I don't know.
Wow. Oh my God. I'm in the Thunderdome.
I will respect the hell out of a joke, kind of regardless of how good the rest of the movie is. It doesn't matter. This could be the worst movie of all time, and if they nailed the joke, I'm in on it. You know, I think it's great. I loved the bad guy in this. I thought he was great. This like Spot character.
Oh my God.
Super fun. In the previous movies, and even in this movie, Miles Morales is begging to be acknowledged and be recognized and for people to see him for who he is. And it's so interesting that that's exactly the motivation for his nemesis. He will literally not give this guy the time of the day. He's calling him, what was it, like a Thursday villain or something, a weekday villain?
Villain of the week.
Oh, no, villain of the week. It's a villain of the week. And the character is clearly upset that he keeps getting called villain of the week. And as it goes and as they're traveling through the universes, he's getting progressively stronger and becoming more villainous. And I thought it was great. And I think it's so funny. You know, that's something I'd brush off to being a 15-year-old kid is like Miles is completely ignorant of the negative impact he's having on this villain. And that it's the same thing that he feels when he's with the other Spider-Man. That's the same feeling he had in the previous movies with his friends and the feeling he's had internally of like, am I Spider-Man? Am I good enough? Please, I wish I would recognize myself. It's so funny. They had great lines. The fights were great. The stuff with the cop showing up and his dad. I don't remember like a specific joke, but I remember enjoying that whole scene. I thought it was cool. Thought it was fun. Super funny.
Yeah. I could have watched the fight between Miles and the Spot for a full 25 minutes. Just the physical comedy of the locations of the spots and them tangling up with each other. It was, oh my God, it was so good.
I thought it was great. I feel like I've seen people who had negative views of this movie and they're like talking about how like long the fight with the Spot was. And I do agree with you 100%. Like I could have kept watching that forever. I thought it was great. Honestly, I would love more of that stuff, like the street level combat with just different villains. I would have loved to see more of that all day. I want to get one beef out of the way. This is my final beef, I think. But I feel like we have to acknowledge this. When I asked you your favorite cameo, you did not say Tobey Maguire. You did not say Andrew Garfield. You did not say Donald Glover. I knew it was one of them. And they're bad. I hated it. I hated that they were in this movie. And I heard people talking about like, yeah, well, now that proves he's in the MCU, you know, like this is real. And I'm like, I don't need that. I don't need the proof that this is in the MCU because this is a cartoon. This is a cartoon. I'm not expecting, you know, Tom Hardy to be just interacting at the Citadel of Spider-Man. I'm not expecting Tom Holland to be here. In fact, Donald Glover showing up, being next to these cartoons, I thought it looked so bad. It was just him like at a home green screen recording this real quick. It was awful. It looked so weird, you know? And then they just show pictures of these other guys. Like, why? We don't need to see this. And something about also, if you're going to show them, then I need to see other life, like real life alternates to these guys. If you're really going to go down this path, you have to get me Tom Cruise in a Spider-Man costume. You have to get me Will Smith in a Spider-Man costume. I'm just rallying off Scientologists. If any of them, you can grab anyone. and throw him in. I mean, why not have Haley Steinfeld as a Spider-Man? Awesome. They could just do the cast. Daniel Kaluuya could just show up as a Spider-Man and it'd be great. I don't know. They need anything else there. And it felt like just forced and boring, and it didn't look good. And it just annoyed me. It annoyed me. This is a cartoon. I don't expect Miles Morales as an animated character to show up next time Thanos, rolls in. I'm not shocked. I'm not devastated that Jake Johnson's Spider-Man wasn't there, to fight whatever villain they've had so far. Why isn't he helping Tom Holland in Marvel Civil War? It's like, because he's a cartoon. It's a cartoon. It's okay that these things are not the same. I don't know. What do you think?
I accept that a lot of people were really excited by these, but I'm right there with you. I think I would have really liked the same exact moments and the same exact cameos if they were animated versions of the same things.
Yes.
I would have loved
it.
The
voice is enough.
Yeah, absolutely. You can use a canned line. Like, they don't need to record anything new, but I'm right there with you in that it does break the medium for me because there aren't also other live action people around. I think about it like it's like what Star Wars did with the sequel trilogy. Hear me out. With how they reconciled how the creatures were practical effects in the original trilogy and then largely CGI in the prequel trilogy, is in all the sequel trilogy stuff and the properties since then, there's just a mix. Some of the aliens are CG. That's just what that alien species looks like. Some of the aliens are practical effects. That's just what those look like. So I think that would have brought it home more. But in this case, I am right there with you. I did not like, it really took me out of the world to see Donald Glover sitting there as a live action person next to Miles. As awesome as it was to have him be a presence in this movie, I don't know, it took me out of it. I think about it too, like, I haven't seen the Star Trek series that are on Paramount Plus, but I know that there's an animated series called Lower Decks that has Jack Quaid and somebody else doing the voices, and the entire thing's animated. And they had a crossover episode with one of the live action series. And so they had the voice cast of Lower Decks show up, but in costume as their characters. So I like that. I think I'd prefer it that way, And if we ever did get Shameik Moore in a Miles costume in the MCU, that'd be fucking awesome. But I don't want to see a cartoon show up in the MCU. Like,
no.
It just feels strange to have those pieces mix. I felt that way about the Spot cameo too, when he pops into the shop with the woman from Venom.
That one I honestly didn't hate as much as the others for whatever reason. I think inserting a cartoon into live action somehow looks and feels a million times better to me than inserting, a real actor into a cartoon world.
I think you're more used to it. I think we've seen that a lot more. And stop me if this one gets a little too close to home, but the most we've really seen of live action people in cartoon backgrounds is the past 6 MCU movies.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we're used to that. We're used to just seeing weird stuff in the background, I guess. But yeah, I didn't. Yeah, it was weird. I don't know. You got a thief, Kevin. You got a thief to turn this pot around. Oh, I'm sorry, my negativity is tanking this thing, but I don't know. Not my favorite.
Let's see. I mean, Thieves. This is stylistically, this is the same thing as the first Spider-Verse. They just blew it out even further. It's so nice to see someone doing animation in a way that breaks with this homogenous style that we've gotten used to over the years with 3D animation. Mm-hmm. DreamWorks has such a distinct style. If you don't believe me and you've never seen this before, Google DreamWorks face. All their characters do the same fucking smirk. Pixar, love them to death, but Pixar does have a very distinct look. I feel like we've gotten a couple lately, like Turning Red, that lean more into specific animation styles. But prior to that, there definitely was a sort of house style that had developed. And
which animation company was this again?
Pixar? Are you familiar?
This is, wait, no, who did Spider-Man?
This one, sorry, Sony Pictures.
Sony Pictures did it. Yeah. I also saw they're coming for, Pixar's like Hot Mom, award.
They're going, dude.
They want it.
I think, did Sony Pictures also do Mitchells versus the Machines?
That's a good question. That's kind of thing we should have researched beforehand.
Yeah,
I love Mitchells versus the Machines.
Same here, dude. Lord and Miller.
It's amazing. It looks great. Better movie than this one. Not better than the first one. That's the last negative thing I'm going to
I agree with you. If you are going to come at us for that, go watch Mitchells versus the Machines first. Movie rules.
Yeah. Honestly, do yourself a favor if you're listening to this. Watch Mitchells versus the Machines. It's so great. It's so fun. It's just a good time. And I think they could have taken a little bit more of that energy into this. The parts I liked about this the most were the fun, lighthearted parts. The jokes when he's meeting Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. That's very cool. When they're not taking it too seriously, I thought it was a lot more fun. And some of those scenes, it's just honestly super cool to see these guys, to see all the different Spider-Man, and they're all pointing at each other. It's fun. It is cool. It's cool to see them all.
It's very fun. I'm so glad that these movies exist. I'm glad there's no world in which I am regretful that they made more of these Spider-Verse movies. I'll watch 10 of them. I'll keep watching these as long as they keep making them. I like living in this world.
I'll definitely keep watching.
I do wish that it did keep up with more of that tone that I had originally with the Battle of the Spot and with the first movie. And even like the opening sequence, here's a thief. We haven't even talked about this. The opening sequence with Gwen is incredible. It is so good. What a fun spider battle. The dynamics with her dad are interesting. That had a little bit more depth and darkness to it, but it still had more of a fun tone overall than I think we got with a lot of the stuff later on in the movie.
Her relationship with her dad is a million times more interesting than Miles' relationship with his family.
Well, there's conflict.
There's conflict. There's no conflict with his family. I should tell him there's nothing there. But for Gwen, it's powerful. I enjoyed it a lot. But also they opened the movie with that, right? So did this feel like a Spider-Gwen movie? Is she the star of this? They're making a real choice to open with her. It seems like all the real conflict in it is on her end. It's how she feels about Miles Morales. It's I care about this guy. I want to see him. I'm putting my mission on hold, but I have this thing, so I can't see him. You know what? I'm going to actually give him up for the purpose of this thing. I'm going to let his dad die, but I'm really torn about it. Like, she's the only one who has a conflict with it, that she doesn't want it to happen. So I don't know. I think she's good in it. I think it's a great character. I think it was way more interesting than Miles Morales in this.
Yeah, I really liked her storyline, and I'm so happy again, like on a bigger level, with what they've done with Gwen Stacy as a character, because effectively in the comics, I saw a meme where it was like the way we used to see Gwen Stacy, and it's just a tombstone versus the way we currently see her, and it's Spider-Gwen. And that's true. They've kind of reversed fridged her over the course of these movies and over the course of the Spider-Verse comic event, where they've now built out this character that's an extremely popular character. People love Spider-Gwen. My niece adores Spider-Gwen. I like Spider-Gwen. Like,
the costume's awesome.
Costume's amazing. And oh my God, the art style when you're in her universe in this is some of the best animation in the entire movie. Some of the best that I've ever seen. So it's really cool what they've done with her as a character and how much more they built her out and given her depth, because even when she was alive in the comics originally, she was kind of a manic pixie dream girl. Like, she just kind of was there to be like, wow, aren't rainbows beautiful? Look at how sunny it is. Sure would suck if I got thrown off a bridge today.
Yeah. But they were building a character to Fridge with her, whereas MJ's like sticking around, so she's got a little more attitude. She's like talking they like flush her out because they're like, oh, this is for the long haul, you know. We want this girl to look absolutely. We don't want Spider-Man like failing to drop, dropping Gwen Stacy and then being like, oh, at least I don't have to listen to her nag about the dishes anymore. You know, you wanted to be like, she's the perfect person, everything's beautiful, and create an incredibly one-dimensional character. And in this, she's the most complex character in this movie for sure, and I think she's a lot of fun. Kevin, big question for you. Would you say this movie is better or worse than Everything Everywhere All at Once?
I think this movie is better than Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think. I had more fun watching this time around than I did rewatching Everything Everywhere. So yeah, I do think it's better.
Fast X?
Yes, absolutely better than Fast X. It's not even a
Dungeons
question.
and Dragons?
Yes.
Bahubali 2?
Yes.
This is crazy. Guardians 3? No.
Absolutely, I think it's better than Guardians 3.
I'm going to put my foot down. It's definitely not better than Guardians 3. I love
What are you
Guardians 3. I thought it was
talking about?
great.
Guardians 3
is a
half
better
the movie
movie.
in a little white padded glob cell with
I'm
people
sorry
who
it
look
wasn't
like-
animated, but it's good. And it's not even it's not better than Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's probably better than Fast X. I don't know. We can hash this out on our review preview, but I'm drawing the line at Guardians 3. I refuse to accept it.
Oh my God. All right. I think it's good that this is going to give us both a chance to really examine ourselves and look at our feelings and dig deep.
Yeah.
Do some
We're
work.
going to have to do some real work.
Yeah.
We're going to have to get some couples counseling. We're going to have to really look inward and see if we can figure this out, because this could tear us apart.
This could. It's threatening everything. Can I give you a prediction?
Sure.
I want to let's bring back reckless speculation. We have 1 minute left.
Yes.
My theory is that they renamed it Across the Spider-Verse and then renamed the third part Beyond the Spider-Verse, because in this movie, we are seeing all the possibilities in a spider person's life. And in the third movie, we're going to see all the possibilities in a Miles Morales' life. So I think in the
I
third
love
movie,
that.
we're going to see a verse of Miles Morales'. Do you have any reckless speculation for the next one?
I love that. I think that's a great idea. I'm hoping this second one was the accordion, right? The first one's nice and tight. This one, they really stretched everything out. And I'm really hoping for the third one, they tighten it up again. And it's like Miles Morales literally fighting himself, trying to figure this out. I would love to see alternate versions of Miles Morales. I hope they really focus on Miles in this as opposed to just, throwing a bunch of stuff out there. I think that'd be great. And I think it would probably change my mind about this movie, but yeah, I don't know. It was fun. Not the word. It was fun. I had a good time. It's not as good as the first one. I don't know if I got my hopes too high, but it's not as good as the first one.
Oh my God. Listener, what do you think? Are we wrong? Are we right? What do you think's coming up? Do you have any predictions? Let us know. Send us an email, nerdy430@gmail.com. That's nerdy spelled out, 4 spelled out, and then the number 30@gmail.com. We will be back here next week with Transformers Beast Wars Fire Up. Until then, stay nerdy, everybody. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Stay nerdy. Bye.